to feel slightly confused, slightly overwhelmed with all of the content there to explore. And I'd like you to just laser focus on exactly what's in this training bundle, and nothing else really, because you could get driven in so many different ways. There are tons of features in there, but what's really important is to nail down this flow at this time, and then we can go into deeper areas later. If you've never run campaigns before, there might be a little bit of quirkiness around the campaign manager and getting an ads manager. If you run boosted posts only, you might explore that in ads manager. You see a lot of campaigns there that you didn't know you set up, and it's because when you boost posts, they're automatically added to your ads manager, and they can be managed from there as well. So what I'd like you to do with this training is to watch it through and through the first time, just to understand and see what I'm doing. Then the second time, I'd like you to watch it and work alongside me. If you have questions during the process, please make sure that you're bringing them up in your weekly coaching session, and then we can address those for you. Additionally, in completing this training, I want to make sure that you understand that, everyone who comes in here is slightly overwhelmed the first time. I was overwhelmed the first time. That's a perfectly normal feeling. We just want to make sure that, we're doing our best to kind of feel it out the first time. You're not going to have 100% certainty about how you deploy the first time, but the more you work through the account, the easier it will be to navigate it, and you'll start to understand it a little bit more. Okay, so let's jump right in. So the first thing that I want you to do is go to your ads manager, and you might be asking, how do I get to my ads manager? Which also brings up another point that I'd like to share. The advertising ecosystem is ever changing. Facebook Ads Manager is no exception. The platform changes often. So the design of the platform might look different when I'm walking through it versus when you're walking through it. As of right now, there are 2 different Facebook.com layouts. One's light, one's darker background. Even some of the formatting menus are a little different. In Ads Manager, same deal. I believe there are 3 different slices out right now. One is in beta. I'll be walking you through the latest. The button positioning and the concepts are all the same, but please know that some things might look just slightly different, and that's just because of the versioning. You'll maybe need to use some context clues as to, okay, this button says this right now, but both are actionable, so it's probably the same thing. But if it's something that looks very different, you don't understand it, you have tons of questions, please bring those to the group coaching call, and then we can take care of that. Okay, so what you'll want to do is move to the ad section, which should be on your left-hand bar if you're in this version. If you're in an older version of Facebook, then in the top right corner, there's a drop-down that will say Ads Manager. So what we're going to do is click that, and it should take you to your Ads Manager account. If you've run ads before, or for any other reason, maybe have more than one ad account, in the top left corner, you'll want to make sure that you're selecting the right one, because rebuilding a setup and transferring it from one account to another is very, very difficult task. It's almost even easier to just rebuild it all together. So to prevent that extra work, let's just make sure that we double check that we're in the right Ads Manager account. You'll also want to click these 9 dots if this is the first time you run ads through your Ads Manager, and then just go to billing and make sure you have a billing method in there to ensure that you can launch campaigns in a timely manner. All right, so we'll want to create. And when we get to the create menu, there will be several different options that we can select for what kind of campaign we want to create. For this exercise, if you run through the older version of this video training, we used to do traffic campaigns and send the traffic to the Facebook group page. Unfortunately, Facebook will no longer allow you to point directly to another Facebook.com page. So now what we're doing is sending traffic to lead generation flow. So you'll want to click lead generation. All you need to do here is click lead generation. All right, and so when you get down here, campaign naming is optional, and a couple of the other versions that are out right now, this does not appear quite this way. So again, remember, we're looking at the campaign name, then the ad set name, then the ad name. And so for the campaign name, we're going to call it Group Campaign Desktop. And so what we're going to start with is the desktop version. And then after the desktop version, then we'll kind of move on to the mobile version in another video when we talk about duplicating campaigns. But for right now, we're going to do group campaign desktop. And the ad set you can name similarly, but we'll also want to put the audience name in here so you understand who you're targeting at this stage. And then the last step of the funnel is what ad images you're showing. And you can put anything in here you like. All of this is yours, so you want to make sure it makes sense to you. But I'm just going to put group campaign desktop ad 1, which makes sense to me. But if it's a yellow sunflower, maybe I would change ad 1 to say yellow sunflower, something that you can look at pretty quickly and instantly tell what it is. So then you'll hit continue to move on to the setup phase. And what Facebook will do is spawn open the details of the campaign that you set up, which is where we can also add in a few more areas of clarity. So the campaign level, just to give you an overview, is from a high level, what's our objective? What are we looking to do? And how much are we willing to spend on it? Then the ad set level is who are we targeting? It answers the who. Where are we targeting them? It also answers the where. And then at the ad level is what exactly do we want them to see? What are we showing them? What are we saying to them? So at the group level, we've already named the group and how much will we be spending on this group. I'm going to put $10 per day. And then to get to the ad set level, you can click here, or you can close out of here, click the campaign name, or click the ad set tab, and then you'll see one more item highlighted, and the item highlighted is your ad set. One thing that I also recommend is to ensure you don't mess with anything else in your ad account. Make sure you're checking this, and you can even click filter by selection just to make sure that you're not messing with anything else in your account but this new campaign, which should be highlighted with like light green, so you know this is a new asset. So I have one campaign, one ad set, and one ad right now. So let's go back to the ad set level. And at the ad set level, I'm just going to hover over it and notice that I get new options. One's edit. And so when I go in to edit this one, now remember this level is where I talk about who I'm targeting, where I'm targeting them. So you'll want to select your Facebook page. I'm just doing this for example, so I'm not going to select anything right at this moment. Do not select anything for catalog because we won't be running a catalog. When you come down to the audience section, this is who are we targeting, where are they? So in the location, you can edit and add the location that makes sense for you. You can change the age range to make sure that it's the age that you expect your perfect client to be within the range. Gender, is it almost only female facing? Is it only male facing? If so, you'll want to select that here. And then the demographic, interests, and behaviors, this is how we get into like the bulk of at the core, who are we targeting? So if your program is yoga for new moms, right? So then we would want to target people who have an interest in yoga. We have two things that we want to qualify: interest in yoga and also being a mom, right? So we can target interest in yoga here. If you hit suggestions, you can also see all types of suggestions about other categories to target and interest. And then what you can do is narrow the audience. Narrowing the audience means you must meet criteria 1 and must meet criteria 2. So you must be interested in yoga and you must be, for me, a new mom. And so I happen to know, you would probably have to do some searching, that there are new parents audiences, right? So let's just say I want new parents, which is a demographic target, which means Facebook has quite a bit of data to support that this person is a new parent. Because I want new moms, I would only be selecting women, right? So I have women who are interested in yoga and are new parents. So I've qualified their yoga interests, I've qualified their new parent status. So then if you scroll down, there are a lot of other options around placement. So what we'll want to do is first let me show you all the options available here. There's connections all people. You want to keep that. We'll change the placements to manual placement, which will allow you to see all the options here. By default, both Facebook and Instagram are clicked, which means your ads will show on Facebook and Instagram. And then if you hit show more options here, then you can see device specifics. So if we hit edit here, we can change this from all mobile devices to specific devices, Android, iOS. And then if we click into exclude skippable ads, we have some other inventory related filters. If we click exclude content, we can add on an inventory filter for where you want your things to show up or block lists. And if you scroll back up, that will affect how you show on all of these items. So for right now, my recommendation is not to hone into those, to just select manual placements, but leave them all checked. The only reason we're selecting it is because we actually want to go to devices and change from all devices to just desktop. So let's uncheck mobile. So that way we're only running desktop devices. Got it? Okay, so now we can click here to get to the ad level, or we can move on to the ad level by on this side. And so notice I have this, if you have this red, there's an error. So this terms of service not accepted is a page related error. So this means I haven't accepted the terms of service for this page to run ads. So you can click view terms, and then essentially they give you the option to say that you accept the terms and conditions. You need to do this to run ads. If you've never run ads before, you very likely will have this. You just need to accept the lead in terms and notice that it resolves the error. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to close out of this and go to the ad level now. I can again get there by clicking the name or clicking the ads tab. Either one will work. And then when I get to the ads tab, if you remember when we set up the campaign, I set up the name for all of these, so we can click edit. And the image will pull from the page. So that page that I'm just using to test right now has this ad image attached to it. That's why it's showing up at the ad level. But I'm definitely going to want to change that. So Facebook asks you, what type of ad do you have? Is it a single image or video? Is it a carousel? And so for us, it will be a single image or video. So we'll leave that as is and just let this load. And then after it loads, notice that there's the ability to edit the media and you can change the image. So let's click change image. And when you click change image, you'll have a few different selections to choose from. So let's just let that load for one moment. So the first are account images. So these are ones that you've already uploaded in the past. There will also be a couple of other categories too, which you can select images from. You can upload if you have an image of interest that you want to use and you already know what it is. You can also do page images, or you can do stock photos. So for many of you, you may be using stock photos if you don't have, any imagery of your own that you want to deploy. And so when you click stock photos, you can select stock images, and the watermark will show initially, but as this information tip says, the watermark won't appear in the final ad images. Also, just because these stock photos are here does not mean that Facebook automatically deems them compliant. So make sure that the ad images that you choose are compliant. Things to look out for would be too much image or too much text in the image that would not be compliant. I believe the limit is 20% or less of the image can contain text. Other than that, there are a couple of categories, but for what you are doing, for the premise of all of these courses, it's unlikely that you'll get rejected for anything else, but there is that possibility. There's a link to their advertising policies if you want to just read that through to be absolutely sure. You can search the images by typing in a term. So notice when I went to select stock photos, I put in not just yoga, but yoga mom, because I want images that will capture the attention very quickly of moms who are interested in yoga. So they might be looking to deepen their practice with something that's a little more in depth than just a standard class, but I want to make sure that the people who I am capturing the attention of quickly are my core audience. So I also implore you to, if you're going to select stock photos, ensure that the image is in very tight alignment with your focus. So these images are moms with their children. So likely when a mom's scrolling through a news feed, she's interested in yoga, they will capture her attention. So I would want to select potentially one of these. And I just love this one. So I'm going to pick this one and hit continue. Again, you might have some of your own images. Maybe you have images of you that you prefer to kind of instead take the approach of highlighting you, the person providing the offering versus, the topic. That's perfectly fine too. It might be worth A/B testing multiple different types of images and seeing which one resonates best with your audience. But in this case, I'm going to pick an image that speaks to the target audience as opposed to about me, and then I would use the primary text field to kind of talk about the group in its entirety, what they could get out of the group, what would be the benefit of joining the group. That's what I would recommend also ensuring you're including in the text and headline and the description. Okay, so here's the image. Again, this is the test page I'm using. This would be your page icon and your page name. It will say sponsored because it is an ad. You'll have your image. It's watermarked now, but it will not be watermarked when it actually goes live. In the primary text field, just to highlight where the primary text field goes, it will be above the image. So this primary text field is where you put your core ad text. So just to give you an idea of where it is, I'm going to put enter core ad text here, and it will refresh on the image in a moment. In the headline field is where you're going to put your attention grabber. This field will only take, I believe, 90 characters. Is a much shorter field, and even less before it starts to wrap into the next line. And then last is your description. So the description is usually like some small call to action or some small event. Description is also a very small, short field before it starts to truncate, which means it will give you like a ... It won't complete, especially if you have some type of call to action button there. So when this ad loads, you'll be able to see where each of these fields directs to and where it shows up. The primary text field is quite long. It will show 2 to 3 lines of text, and then there will be a see more button, which people can click and see more. So see enter core ad text here. This appears right below your page icon and right before the ad image. Again, this can be about 3 lines before it truncates, and then there's a show more button. So if you do long form text, it'll show the first 3 lines, 2 to 3 lines. Then when users click show more, it will expand. The attention grabber is right here. This one will also truncate or wrap. So if it's too long, it will wrap and you won't have a description. And if it's longer than the amount of characters that are allowed for the headline and the description, then it will truncate, completely cut off. Part of the limit for these two depends on the button you select and how much text is in the button, of course, so how much space the button takes up essentially. And then the description space is the small text that's right under the headline here. So the attention grabber should be something that is attention grabbing. something that makes a user want to stop because this is the largest piece of text on the ad. The second largest piece of text is the primary text here. So this is the one that you want to also make sure at least the first couple of lines are attention grabbing, because that's what users will see initially before it truncates. And then this description field is like little tidbits you'd also like to share. But if your headline is too long, people won't see this anyway. And then you put in your call to action item. So whether it's sign up, most likely learn more, these are all things that you can put in here. So I'm going to click learn more. There's even the ability to not select any button. That might be worth testing as well. Some people believe that it looks more like an organic post as opposed to an ad if there is no call to action button. So it's up to you what you test there. And then lastly, you need to create a lead form. So now let's click create lead form. So your lead form is what's going to send the users to your group page. It didn't used to be so convoluted. Before, what you would be able to do is instead send traffic just directly, click the ad, they go to your group page. Unfortunately, Facebook will no longer allow you to send traffic ads to a Facebook link, whether that's your Facebook page or your Facebook group. Right now, the rules are slightly fuzzy around that, but they're slowly reducing the ability to do that on any accounts, although some accounts at this moment still have the capability, some do not. Soon, no accounts will have that capability, so this will be the workaround. So you can name this form. I'm just going to name it group campaign for consistency, but whatever makes sense to you. Your form type will be volume. The difference between these two is volume is the quickest one to submit. Higher intent means that there's, at the end of the form when people are completing it, there's also a stage where they have to review the information. So that one will, of course, be a little slower. You'll have more people bounce out of the funnel. So you can decide which one is the better fit for you. The setup is essentially the same. You will collapse that. One recommendation I make is to go to settings also and make sure sharing is open. Basically what this means is restricted sharing means only people who see your ad directly can submit the form. Open means, oh, I see the form. I'm a mom who loves yoga. I definitely want to join this group, but I also know 5 other moms that would love to join this group, so I can share this ad with them. If you put restricted, those 5 other moms are not allowed to be shared the content if they're not directly tracked. So I recommend putting open unless you have very, very tight parameters around who you'll allow in your group and you feel that people who the post is being shared with will not be your target audience. So let's go back to content. So let's go into form type. Again, we selected more volume here, but you could select higher intent if you want to add just one more step where people can confirm their information, which will reduce the amount of submissions. You go into the intro and you can use the image from your ad, which is default, or you can upload another image if you want to. Your greeting is your headline text. So right here, you can enter a headline text. I'm going to put test headline so you see where it is. So you'll want to make this something welcoming. And then you can also do a description paragraph. So this is a test paragraph showing users why they should join my group, and notice how it wraps. You can also do a list instead. This would be like benefit 1, benefit 2. So these are the things they'll get from joining your group. And then next we get into the questions. So here you can add a couple of questions related to. So by default, notice it is a lead generation form. So there's some description and you have to let people know what you'll be using this group for. And so in order to join the group, we like to collect a little more information about you. And maybe by default, email and full name are what the lead generations forms pass back. So this could be great to initially start with, getting people into MailChimp for you. If you do not want to collect email and full name, maybe you just want to, at this stage, ask them a question about themselves or ask what they're mostly looking to get out of the group, right? So if you want to do that, you can add a custom question. You can do multiple choice or short answer, and once you click this, it will allow you to create the question. There's also the ability to set up an appointment to talk. That's a little, for the first contact, that's usually a little heavy of a request. You'll probably get a lot more abandoned, so I don't recommend that approach. And so after you've completed setting up all of the questions that you'd like to ask, you have to go to the privacy section, and you have to include some type of privacy link. If you don't have a privacy link, you can just put in yogabase.com/privacy. This has to be a privacy link. If you don't have a website, you probably don't have your own. That should be perfectly fine. You can add a custom disclaimer if you have any. This would be if you have a site, and there are several ways you'll utilize the data. And then last is the completion form. This is really important. So here's your headline. Thanks, you're all set. For here, you can sign up for my group by clicking the button below. So of course you'll want to clean this up, maybe add some flair to it. But essentially you want to have a view website button. That's the call to action type. But you don't want it to say view website. Maybe you wanted to say sign up for my group. Or maybe you want to say take me to the group page. Whatever you want to put there. And then lastly, you'll add the link to the group. And it will be something like this, facebook.com/groups, whatever your group URL is. Right? And then you'll want to publish. So then you have the whole thing. And by the way, this icon and this page name will be yours, of course. Your icon and your page name. This is just a test one I'm setting up. And then you'll publish. And so long as you've filled in all of the fields, it will publish. If not, you'll get an error message and it'll show you exactly what you need to fill in. But the workflow for a user would be essentially they click on the ad, they spawn open this lead form without having to leave the Facebook ecosystem, which is nice. They fill out the form, and then lastly, they land on your group page. So even if they don't actually sign up for the group, you have their email address so you can follow up with them and get them to convert into a group member, especially if you think that they're a fit. You also will have their email, so you can now keep that in MailChimp and start to disseminate messages to them related to your offering. So you kind of, although this process is a little longer than it used to be, you don't send people directly to the group page, you do get